October 24th, 2023. I'm Mayor Scott Hurst, and I'd like to call the meeting to order. Call the meeting to order and do roll call.
Mayor Hurst.
Here.
Mr. Horn.
Present.
Ms. Metz. Here. Mr. Tracy.
Here.
Ms. Gregory. Here. Mr. Dorman.
Here.
Ms. Kopp. Here.
All right, so we're doing a new format this week, and we're broadcasting or televising the workshop meeting, which is not something that we've done in the past. So we'd like to welcome everybody, and hopefully this new format works out. And the first thing on the agenda tonight is LBJ Project Review Agreement. Manager Sheridan?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. As previously discussed, the village engaged LJB Engineering to review the plans for the proposed Stillwater Crossings North project. You have the signed agreement in your packet, and as you'll see, they would expect to have their initial review completed by November 3rd. Very prompt review. I also discussed with them, as the council wished, that they'll do a review of Stillwater Crossing South afterwards and bring any findings to you on that. The project talks about a not to exceed, and I explained that we understand that to do the additional work, they might be over that amount. Is there any questions? You have the document. I believe it's exactly the same as was presented to you, other than the dates being changed, because the initial document had them completing it in September. Any questions?
Nope, I don't have any questions.
Very good.
Next up is the 571 Potsdam Road Resolution.
You have in your packet a proposed draft resolution for a project, and I brought that up on the map. It is to improve the safety and functionality of this interchange. Perhaps the most important document talks about how much the grant would pay and what the local match would be if we are to pursue it. This was determined to be the most competitive project that the village was considering in consultation with Choice One, based on the rules of this grant program through the Miami Valley Regional Planning Commission.
Right, and that was like the Hayes Street.
This is Milton, Potsdam, and Haskett, as you're trying to make that left turn, and or because of the curve and the amount of traffic and the school, all those factors, they'd be looking at doing a study and how we would improve that intersection. This is not something that requires a decision tonight. This is for your consideration only. So if you have questions, certainly let me know. And at some point in a future meeting, if you wish to pursue it, we'll present the resolution to move forward with an application.
All right.
Any questions?
Was this one of the intersections that seems like, I don't know, 6 months ago or a year ago, we had a
Yes.
list of of,
Yes.
okay, so,
Yeah.
right.
It's not the intersection with the most accidents, but it's
Right.
up there.
But it was on the list.
Correct.
Do we know what that looks like, what the work to be done to it would be yet?
No, because the engineers would have
Right.
to come
Yep.
up with how they're gonna try to improve it.
Gotcha.
Because that's so close to the other part we've been talking about,
Yes,
would that be considered at all as the complete project to move?
I don't believe that we could stretch the definition of the program to encompass all of Haskett Road. I'm certainly willing to try, but my understanding from Choice One, that would have to be a separate project.
So, I think we got a couple of different things going on. This says Hayes at Milton Potsdam, but I think you're talking about Milton Potsdam and Haskett.
I'm sorry, yep, nope, you're correct. That's my mistake. So, yeah, looking at Hayes at Milton Potsdam would actually be the project, my apologies. Haskett was the next one,
Back the other way,
yeah,
left,
Oh.
down.
go down, there we go.
No, the other down.
The other down, okay, my bad.
A little bit more, there.
There we go.
There we go. My apologies. Yeah, so this is the intersection. Thank you.
And that's what I remember.
Thank you for catching that.
Oh,
Yes,
wonder
that,
that
that,
didn't make sense.
that, thank you very much. That is in fact the intersection that the grant would go after, all right? I was ahead of myself, I was gonna show you Haskett Road.
Yeah.
Now, any questions?
I was gonna say, turning left on Haskett on Milton Potsdam is also a tricky one, too.
All right,
All right.
so
No other
just,
questions?
if you would provide me some feedback, going forward, if you're interested in pursuing the project. Again, they'll pay a substantial percentage of the construction, but the village would be on the hook for the design work. All right?
I mean, I'm interested in it, just, I'm traveling that road every day, and, you
Right.
know, there's a lot going on.
There is.
Yeah. All right, any other discussion? All right. Next is the Haskett Street Park.
There you go, that's where I thought we were. I just wanted to show you, and as you may recall, this was previously discussed, and obviously Mr. Herron is not here, but we talked about this in at least one other workshop in September, and there were several comments about what we might or might not do, and because of the factors that not all of the road is in the village, and the school owns a substantial portion, there was no decision made on how to proceed. And so again, this is a workshop, I'm not asking for a decision, just reminding you that is a project that staff would need some feedback if you're interested in pursuing.
So after our last meeting, when I specifically went down Haskett going north, and the east side of Haskett, so back up where you just were, Jeff.
Yes, sir.
The, near Lyle Road, the cars that are parked there actually take up the northbound lane of traffic.
Right,
There, and there, you are forced going north to go into the southbound lane of traffic to drive around the parked cars, approaching that intersection. And, that, although everybody's generally kind of moving slow around there, I don't know what it translates to accidents. It just seems kind of crazy to me that you can park in a lane of traffic, and nullify the lane of traffic by that.
I think one of the options that's been discussed would be make it no parking on either side. The flip side of the argument is several of those residents have very little driveway, and only a one-car garage, and so that's the only alternative they have for their second vehicles.
But, I mean, I don't know how public, or how street parking competes with a lane of traffic when there is no,
I agree, I just was reminding you of what the other side of that coin is. Staff is willing to try no parking if you think that's the first step, at least putting it on the agenda and getting the ordinance drafted, and obviously getting public input from the folks it's gonna affect.
what does the law say about parking in a lane of traffic?
Well, it's parking in the curb, really. It just happens to be the street's not a normal width. It's a width just for cars, but not accommodating because of the layout of the actual area for them to have parking along the street. So, I mean, but we don't have it marked not parking, so there would be nothing we could enforce down there.
So it'd be the same as if somebody parks in an alley and they're parked.
If it's a private alley, there wouldn't be anything.
Well, I'm in a public alley because it's a public street. If someone parked in the alley,
Well, the alley's a little bit different if you're blocking a public alley.
well, I mean, how's that different blocking a public alley than a public
Well,
street?
They can still get around there.
By going into the oncoming lane of traffic. And is that
The
a,
other problem we have there is the other lane of traffic doesn't belong in the village.
the northbound side of,
Southbound.
yeah, southbound side of Haskett?
There's, That's our biggest dilemma.
That's the tricky part of it.
That's the tricky part.
Certainly one of them.
So when they're swerving out of the lane of traffic, they're actually out of town.
Yes.
So if the accident happens in that lane of traffic, do we call the county or the city?
County would have to get that report.
Boy, this gets more complicated by the second, doesn't it?
Well, the easiest solution is to not take away the parking, but to make it one way. Yeah, the problem with the one way is you have to get the township to agree to it. But that really is the solution to that without putting any money into it at all.
You know, I drive around that area 50 times a day, dropping kids, and, you know, I avoid that spot, and honestly, when I do go on it, which is very rarely, there's usually no other cars, and it's usually during a busy time. I think everybody, if you're from Milton, avoids that road because of that, so.
I drove it
possibly
leaving
making it
Lowry,
one
which is
way.
why I was in the area, and
Yeah,
there was, you know,
would work.
that's when when anything's going on at the school, there's just more traffic in the area in general. But
Did those residents complain when the yellow no parking buckets and signs were out there?
Some,
I know, I hate to take away the little bit of parking they do have.
Yeah, because where would they park?
Right.
There is a duplex on the corner there that actually, there's a driveway side to side, so on the duplex,
You actually could not park more than one car in that each driveway, because you're only in the one half of it. So the only other parking they have is on the street, or they have to go around the corner and park in front of someone else's home.
Seems like we had discussed previously about trying to fund a traffic study between us, the school, and the township
that was discussed.
of the road. To get all three parties, since it affects all three, to go in on it and have engineer look at it to see what they think. I mean, obviously, the no parking or the one-way will be the cheapest, but I didn't know if anything had been.
That has not been pursued. I know we have at least one township representative. I don't know if you want to pursue that conversation or ask staff to do it at a later time.
I think it's a great topic for that joint meeting.
That's my favorite.
That's on Thursday.
Sure.
I
I agree with that.
Good reminder, that's coming up on Thursday, either at 6 or 6:30.
So it's timely too.
This Thursday.
No.
We have to reschedule, it's trick or treat.
It's been rescheduled twice already, I believe.
Third time's the charm.
Like at what time?
So is it a costume meeting?
No, it wasn't yet, but it can be. I will convey that wishes to have it rescheduled tomorrow.
All right, any other comments, questions? All right, next is the outdoor fitness equipment program and grant.
All right, I was contacted by this organization. I believe the lady who is now the state chairman, and indicated that as a smaller community, we would be perfect to participate in their program. This is a brief video to explain. Now, let's see how loud it is. Oh, don't stop.
Changing the way American thinks about fitness. From college campuses to city parks and trails, we're bringing free fitness everywhere, and we're just getting started. Hi, I'm Mitch Van, founder of the National Fitness Campaign. The National Fitness Campaign was founded in 1979 when we opened the first fitness school. Redesigned for the 21st century, the fitness court is the world's best outdoor gym. Our 7-movement, 7-minute system allows you to use your own body weight to get the bill for your workout. Easy or hard, it will work for you. Our goal is to build healthy communities by making outdoor fitness an essential part of people's lives, so that each day is better than the last. Now more than ever before, it is vital that we move fitness outdoors to remain safe, healthy, and strong.
Michiganders, as soon as we can, be on the side, which is one of the reasons why the fitness world is such an attraction. What impressed us most was their basic philosophy that they wanted to provide world-class fitness for free. Truly, anyone can use it, no matter what your age is, no matter what
programs are bringing students outdoors across America. The Fitness Court mobile app is your gateway to enroll in these programs. Simply scan the new digital wall with your phone to access a library of free workouts designed to optimize your experience on the fitness court. Learn the moves and take challenges as we dig deep to create impact for our partners across America. This year we are thrilled to introduce Fitness Court Public Arts. Cities have the opportunity to select a local artist to design their fitness court using the power of the arts and fitness outdoors in iconic public spaces. We're proud to have helped cities of all sizes raise millions of dollars from respected sponsors to support free fitness. Wherever fitness is a priority, you can find a fitness court. We're partnering with large cities using urban movement data to map the best locations for healthy infrastructure. We're bringing fitness courts to within 10 minutes of population centers everywhere.
They provide these wraparound services that, from the city's perspective, that's what you want in a partner like this. You want it to come, present it to you on a silver platter with a bow tie around it. They're one of the best partners, I think, that I personally have ever worked with.
We serve almost 1.2 million members across Michigan, and this partnership really is an opportunity for us to bring scalable, free health and wellness opportunities to our community. So I would actually invite cities and organizations, big and small, to explore the opportunity to invest in fitness courts. To be very honest with you, the feedback from different municipalities and different communities has been very positive.
We're committed to raise $150 million to bring the campaign to 1,000 cities and schools, building the largest fitness movement in the world. Join us. Let's make world-class fitness free.
Okay.
At the very beginning of that, they showed the original 1979.
Yep.
We had that around our school in the 80s.
Yep.
And I like the fact that it's no longer wood, which had everybody loved everybody carved into it over the years.
Sure. Ms. Bowens, Lee Bowens, you see her email. They will give you some grant money to get it started. They help partner you with other health organizations to help funding. It's not cheap, and it's around $200,000. But there's some grant money and some help, and it's just a question of whether the council wishes to devote staff time and effort towards trying to put it together. It would be great to have, but it will take time and money.
So this would be down at the park, correct?
That would be my expectation.
Are there other organizations that do the same type of thing?
Oh, I don't know. I would guess there might be, but this is the only one I'm aware of.
I thought it was really nice looking. I was just telling Jeff before I got here when we were down at the hike, my teenage boys, when we were down there, they were like, hey, we need one of those workout things that you run around and do the different stations like at Duke Park.
Yeah.
And it's funny that he brought this up. I could see the athletic programs utilizing it also, like a lot of the, the runners run around town. I could see my husband's soccer team utilizing it. I don't know, I think it's kind of a neat idea, personally.
Yeah, me too.
But I like that kind of stuff too.
I like it. I like that we're doing new things to the park too, to kind of like bring it into the modern day.
Yeah.
Bringing things that people are interested in. I think it's cool.
So I take that, at least pursue, get more information about cost and timing and what would be required, and I'll bring it to you by the next council workshop.
Great.
Thank you. I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that.
Okay.
Maybe our new friends at Premier.
Perhaps.
Maybe a health
know.
connection.
Put their name on the back of it, like.
Yeah.
They can have the art.
That's better
Yeah.
than some of the art that might show up on.
No question. All right. Should I go to the next item, Mayor?
Yeah, next is the 2023 budget amendment.
It is indeed, and I'll turn it over to our Finance Director, Ms. Price.
So the budget committee
a lot of detail, obviously, in all of it, but I was gonna go over some highlighted issues, or not issues, but highlighted topics. I'll start with the 2023 amendments. We discussed at the last workshop regarding the transfer from the general fund into the water cap fund to help that fund a little bit because of all the big projects we have going on. So I wanted to kind of earmark that. And then the park wall and engineering project, which is looking fabulous down there, came in a lot higher than what Ben had expected. So there's an amendment in there of $50,000 to accommodate those changes. Doyle was really good about getting a police retention grant. It's through, who is that for? I can't remember, the EMA?
EMA.
So they're awarding $24,000 that gets just distributed amongst all the officers that were here during COVID, during the pandemic. And so it's an in and out basically, but we have to add that as an amendment to the budget. Ben moved all of the paving for this year to next year. So you're gonna see a decrease in the paving and then an increase next year in the budget, okay? Next year's paving budget is 280, but 140 is coming out this year. The Miami Street Water Main Project, I don't know what we're gonna need to do for budget amendments until probably the end of November. So I can't give you a number right now. I can estimate it all I want, which I've tried to do and pulled my hair out, but until I get that last pay up for the year, that amount's gonna change, which will most likely change the amount for next year's part of the project, which should be, I think, finished next year. Is that correct? Okay. The other thing I wanted to touch on was the North End Sanitary Project, which is, I believe, almost done. That was not anticipated this year, so that's about $355,000 that we have to add to our budget, which was funded through, like, I think a grant and a loan kind of thing. So we have to add that because we didn't anticipate that this year. So, and then a couple other things was the sludge. We are running a lot higher than normal, so we amended it by $30,000. And a big part of that is because this is the full year that we've had all of Ledlow on our system. And we've got the development going on out there, and we've also had drier conditions. I don't know a lot about sludge, but that's what I was told. So I'm gonna say with that. And then the last thing is the 571 pedestrian path is a significant project, and the engineering on that is coming in around $280,000. 50 of it, they're telling me, is probably going to be spent this year. So I had to add that in for this year's amendments. All the other little things are just itemized. They're pretty self-explanatory if you've had a chance to look over it. I guess right now, does anybody have any questions on the amendments? No? Okay, good. All right, moving on. So the 2024 budget, when we met last week, the first item on there that I wanted to talk about was wages for the staff. It was initially, I had in the budget as 3%, and then there was some discussion amongst the council members that were there that they wanted to see 5% in the budget. So the budget that you have in front of you includes the 5%. It's up to you whether you want to move forward with that or if you want me to adjust it or come up with a different number. Moving it from 3 to 5% added about $34,000 to the budget overall. The water cap fund is projected to be okay by the end of next year, at least in terms of solvency. However, we're gonna have a lot of debt payments starting in 2025. But at the beginning of the year, we have about $85,000 in debt payments that come out. They come out in January and July. So my recommendation would be is to build something into the appropriation legislation which accommodates in advance if we need to move money into it initially for the first few months. That money would get reimbursed back to the general fund if and when we do receive those funds, and it can maintain itself, if that makes sense. The pedestrian path, which is what I talked about earlier, really, I think engineering is going to be all next year, except for that $50,000 this year. So I believe the construction on that is anticipated to begin in 2025. Is that correct? Okay. Ben wanted to add crosswalks to South Miami, Lowry, and Williams Drive. Okay. I guess there's some safety issues there that he's trying to help fix. Yes. So it's $82,000. It's in the budget. He stated that he will only do that project if he gets the grant funding, which right now, I think he said we have a likelihood of getting the grant funding, and it's a 90-10 split, which is remarkable. Usually it's a higher local share percentage. So if we get the grant, we'll do the crosswalks.
Where were those located again?
He said South Miami, Lowry, and Williams Drive.
Can you
So-
show us on the map?
On Williams, is that the Emmerich-Williams intersection? Because
I
there's
don't-
South Williams, North Williams, and East Williams.
I don't know.
I was confused at the.
It might be in his notes that he gave us. Let me look
Where
here.
am I looking for?
Like the sketchiest one is Emmerich, where Emmerich, South Williams, and Miami Street, the only other stoplight in town.
Yeah.
I think that's where, is that where
Between
the?
Lowry and Williams?
Yeah,
Because these would be putting in actual crosswalk signs,
yeah.
so it would cycle with the light there.
I would guess it has to be the stoplight one.
Right.
Jeff, I think it's down by like the Sunoco, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
follow Emmerich Road
Come on,
to
it's where it's down by the church.
yeah.
Here.
Yeah, there you go.
I don't think it's in here. I don't see his notes in here.
Is that?
Yeah. I would think that's where he's talking about.
Okay.
Aren't there already crosswalks, or what do you mean? Like, what kind of crosswalks?
I think it's like the white piano key.
They're not timed with the light and pushing a button and all that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Might not be ADA compliant, signage
Yeah.
and all that.
Yeah, I
So
don't see
wait,
it in his
there and
notes.
where?
And then Lowry, where would you come?
Well, that'd be Lowry and Miami Street, going back up to the,
Oh, I see.
By Huntington?
Okay. Yeah.
a little farther north.
What cross street am I looking for?
Lowry, keep going up to where
Lowry,
Huntington is.
okay, sorry.
There we go.
Also, we could say,
So the concern is going
Yeah.
on the west side, going north-south?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
See, here's his written description. I went
Yes,
to
if
look
I
at all
looked
those.
for it, I couldn't find it.
There's one downtown, yeah, and then two between Lowry Drive and Williams Drive. These two.
They're not.
He also, yeah, in the meeting, I think he mentioned Phillip Drive also, so. I think the point of the budget meeting, though, was that it was a 90% grant.
Yeah.
Yes.
I
Yes.
mean, wherever they go in
That's
Right.
a
town,
point.
it's a
Yeah.
90% grant to get some crosswalks where they're deemed to be needed.
Sounds good.
That's the park, though.
Oh.
I wonder if he gave it to me. Yeah, I don't know. Do you want me to move on? Or? Do you want me to move on? Okay, got it. All right. So, we talked about the paving being moved to next year. The Hayes Street water main, the construction is due to begin and finish in 2024. We have a grant, we'll probably need a loan for the rest of it, our local share. The same with the Stillwater water main. The amount may change, but as of right now, we will probably need a loan for our local share on that as well. And North Miami water main will finish up next year, hopefully. So that's all the highlights I have of the 24 budget. Any questions? Changes? Did you guys get a chance to look at anything, or?
No,
Okay.
a few of us have been out of town, so we were
Okay.
gonna try to meet sometime here soon, so.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions for that? Next is the constitutional audits.
Chief, you want to
Sure.
begin, and then we'll.
So, recently, there's been uptick in what we call First Amendment auditors, folks who go around with video cameras and go onto public property and videotape or disrupt the service that's being provided. So I have been talking with our law director and with Mr. Sheridan about how we can better prepare in case we have those. We've had one visit here. A gentleman wanted to talk to me. I invited him in the office, told him to bring his camera, and we sat for 45 minutes and had a conversation. That's been about a year and a half ago, and then he went out about his business. So one of the things that has been suggested is to make sure we get signage that's appropriate for us to know the boundaries, so that if someone were to come in, they know where they can go and where they can't, because not everything at the city hall or any of the other places is open to the entire public. So I'm gonna work on getting some signage put together for the front office so that it's where personnel only is allowed. That doesn't prohibit them from requesting a tour, which we could set up for them to do, but it doesn't grant them automatic entrance to those areas. So we've been looking at some of those things and making some signage. I know the city of Troy and the sheriff's office has been doing the same thing, because the sheriff's office recently did have a First Amendment auditor visit them and caused quite a disruption at one of their offices. Any questions?
Just want to make you aware that we'll be adding some signage and perhaps some new policies to address what the chief has described.
All right. Well, moving right along to old business. There's code enforcement is on the agenda.
Okay, so as you're aware, about a month ago, the police division took over the code enforcement. So since September the 28th, we've sent out 61 letters to residents of different violations. 40 of those residents have complied. 21 have not. However, we've been in contact with one of those who has applied for a variance so that they could pour some concrete to accommodate the equipment that they have, that they want to keep, a trailer or a boat that would be in compliance with what the ordinance says. We've got another one who has two parcels. Their house is on one parcel, and a building that is very dilapidated and falling down is on the other parcel. When we made contact with them, they want to get rid of the barn, but they didn't understand how to go about combining those parcels to make it into one, which would allow them to get the new garage that was wanted. Mr. Sheridan has worked with her, and she's working through that process, and we're working with her to make that happen. But she doesn't like the barn either. It's leaning, and it's a hazard. So
The issue, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
The issue, in case you're wondering, is you can't have an accessory structure on a parcel without a primary structure. So there's two separate parcels, and the only structure on the parcel with the building that's falling down is an accessory structure. By combining them, she can rebuild it. And so once she understood that, that's the action she's gonna pursue. So she was very cooperative, and that's why she said, I've not tried to address it, because I know I can't build it back, and I need to replace it. So once we talked and figured out that was the issue, she's gonna, I'm pretty confident she'll invest in consolidating the two parcels, and then come back for a permit to replace it once she takes it down.
So we're working with her. We have another address that has had a large amount of brush, tree trimmings and what have you, not cut into the sections that we would be able to pick up. We've tried with 2 different letters, contacted the resident, they have refused to cooperate. So tomorrow we're going to cite them in court, and we're going to, the city's going to go out on a Thursday and pick up the brush from the building for the hours. Because it doesn't comply.
This is an issue staff had been dealing with for months on our own. This is not brand new. We've tried for months to get them to either comply and get us bundles we can pick up, or deal with them themselves, and they just have not.
2 of the residents have contacted Sergeant Stevens or Mr. Sheridan and told them they're not going to comply with the letters that we've sent them. Both of those properties are very much disarray, and for lack of better terms, one of them looks like a junkyard. So we're going to be moving on with that process, and most likely going to have charges that we'll file on those folks for that as well. 8 of the 21 also have contacted Sergeant Stevens about how they can comply, and are working to get those things taken care of. The last 10 on that 61 list, their letters have been sent in the last 7 days, so we're still within that period of time to comply or to reach out to us and work out some kind of arrangements to get that fixed. Sergeant Stevens has been doing a very diligent job with those, and I've been helping him with those as well, and we've had great success. Most folks were not aware of the ordinances, and it was an educational process. Once that occurred, we've not had no one really upset to the point where they called other than one resident. They called and was very outspoken with Sergeant Stevens, and a couple days later they sent pictures to Mr. Sheridan where they had built their own pad, and it was very nice, and actually approved the property and parked the trailer on it. It's all compliance.
Any questions on code enforcement?
But thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right, is there any additional old business? Well, we did have the fall, well, yeah, the
Ribbon cutting, the grand
Ribbon
opening
cutting.
of the new nature trail in the
Yep.
park.
And I don't know if anyone got a chance to go down to see the the new trail, but we did take a walk, and the event was great. I'd like to thank Mr. Sheridan and all of the staff that helped with that. It was a good event.
And we probably had 60 plus, and had all the pumpkins carved, and a lot of cider warmed up and drank, and we got about a 2.5 hour window of sunshine on a rainy day to get the walk in, so it worked out very well.
Yep.
I have flyers too, if anyone wants to check it out. I brought the extras, so I'll set them up there too if we can have
Please,
them at the
that'd be
window.
great.
I was unable to, we already had plans to be out of town, but my kids were there.
Ah,
And they were very excited about the event. I've heard nothing but good things, and they are already asking if it's going to be an annual thing.
Well, I
that's a
think
different
one of yours
approach, an
was-
annual
Oh, yeah,
grand
she did.
opening.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Make it a fall, whatever. I don't know.
We
The
can-
third Saturday of
we can
October
work
or
something out,
whatever it was.
yeah.
I don't know. It was.
We can-
They were very. and
We
so-
can find a reason to have an event, sure.
So thanks for your hard work. That was good reports.
Good deal.
Enjoyed the walking the path and looking for the candy buckets.
There you go.
A little energy to make it on.
Well, they also requested that those stay year round.
Then we'll have to have another budget amendment.
I have a question, maybe that goes with the NBEN's memo in the park kind of upgrades, thinking of another event in the park or like a ribbon cutting to something new. One was the boat ramp. Were we thinking like a different area than the one that's already
Yes.
there? just
Yeah,
somewhere
it would-
further
We would
down?
expect to be further downriver, so there's some significant separation between the two.
Yeah, has anyone seen the one at Treasure Island in Troy?
Uh-uh.
So nice.
It's so nice, and
So
it's
nice.
wheelchair compatible.
Oh.
And so you get your canoe or kayak onto those like rolly, I don't even, like
Okay.
conveyor belt thing.
Yep, I know what you
And
mean.
so once you paddle up on it, you step onto the it was like a plastic kind of decking, but there was a wheelchair access to with handles and everything that you could get from the ground into a boat. It was really nice.
Mr. Herron obviously knows a lot more about it than I do, but my expectation is the biggest challenge would be meeting the state requirements for the scenic river. We're very limited in what we can and can't do on the river and what kind of construction. So that might be the only obstacle, or one of the obstacles. Cost probably would be the other one, but yeah, we'd hoped to do it this season. That didn't happen, so it's on the list for next year.
And that's another ramp in the park or further
Yes.
north?
It would be in the park, but
Okay.
probably further south.
Okay.
Probably
So
further.
I think he wants to put it right in that curve as you get to the bottom there, where the little gravel pull
Yep,
off,
yep.
there's an opening there before you hit the trees again, he's looking in that area.
Yep.
Any other old business? Any new business?
I've got a couple of items. You have two letters in your packet. One is a letter of resignation from a member of the planning board, and one is a letter of interest for a potential member of either the planning board or the board of adjustments. As you may recall, our board of adjustments by charter must have 4 members to vote, and with the resignation, we're down to 4. So everyone has to be there. And we've got, the Timeless Tacos needs a variance for their sign, and to say they're chomping at the bit, we couldn't get a quorum at the last meeting. We're trying to determine, can we get a quorum for the November 1st meeting? But he's very unhappy he's not been able to install his sign, because he needs a variance, and he can't get a quorum to hold the meeting. So I know the council intends to interview candidates before you make additional appointments. You might start thinking about when you might want to do that, and if we can get some other candidates for you to interview. We need full boards, planning and board of adjustment, to get some issues addressed.
It's gonna be a dumb question, but does our charter allow for a council member to sit in on the board until it's full?
I'll defer to the law director, but I've asked every way around. For example, I asked if we could do like a Zoom meeting. It could, and but they can't vote legally according to the charter. So, Lene, can we have an alternate, or can we have?
I would have to look at the charter. I'm not sure what the
I'm
language
just
says.
trying to think of a way that we can
Yeah.
continue to
Yeah.
conduct business till we can fill the spot.
I thought about maybe appointing a 6th member who could attend when there's not a quorum of the other 5.
Okay.
Because that, normally a quorum of 5 is 3, but because our charter calls for 4, I can only have one person missing, and now that one has resigned, that's obviously even more problematic. So I want to accommodate the requests for variances, but I can't do it without a quorum.
Put that on the list of things to fix on the charter when we get around to that. Definitely a problem.
Okay, we'll do that, but in the meantime, I need a board member.
And it has to be through the board and not through council can't approve the sign.
I don't believe there's a provision for the church. I'm sorry,
No, go ahead.
it doesn't prohibit a temporary. I tried to convince him to put it up, until we get approval, with the worst case scenario being he doesn't get the variance. And he said it's too expensive, and he only wants it in a certain place, and so I understand, but, we just need to find a way to either modify and make it more efficient. There's a couple of different things I've looked at, could staff have the ability for an administrative approval, under certain circumstances? But I'm not sure I wanna go down that road, because then if you don't like what I approve, it can be appealed, but if the person's gone to the expense of installing something, so there's all kinds of, this might work, no, there's always a downside to alternates, but the bottom line is we need a quorum on a regular basis of both those two bodies because we have so much going on and people want to do things. Well, I don't want to make it hard for Time and Stopco to get a sign put up.
So it sounds like we need to appoint somebody to the Board of Adjustments first,
Yes.
like at our November
Yes.
meeting.
But
Yes.
don't we have to have somebody, how many people are on planning board right now?
5, but I haven't had all 5 show up for a while. And see, it
But
can
you
work,
have
it
to
can
have
operate with
4.
3. I can do 3
For
on
planning
the
board.
planning board, but I gotta have 4
4 for the
on the
board.
Board of Adjustments.
And you have 4 right now for
Oh, we
board
have 4.
adjustment?
That's correct.
And it isn't one of those decisions that passes on to council. It's just
Mhm.
finished with the
Okay.
planning board and the Board of
Right,
Adjustments.
Any questions?
I have one other issue that you guys will be so happy about. The state has amended the municipal tax code again. So there's various amendments that are gonna come forth that have to be passed by January 1st. And I'm gonna try and work with Jill, cause there's a lot in there that I have to go through. But it is one of those ordinances that is gonna need 2 readings unless you guys pass it by emergency, but it's required for the changes to be passed in the tax code. We have to get ours up to date, so that will be coming.
I have 2 things also. Just a reminder, Jeff, that we need to have the Community Pride Award, Community
Invited to
Pride
November.
winners come in
Yes, in
for
November.
the next one. And then also the Christmas parade, we're having the tree lighting on Christmas parade December 2nd downtown. The parade will start at 5:30 and you can sign up here. Well, you can actually print out, the sign-up sheet if you wanna be in the parade online, they have it on the website. And then we'll also put it on our Project Revival page if you wanna print it off there and then turn it in. So we'll be lining up down here at 5:30 doing the parade, which is really fun. We'll have Santa, at the end on the carriage ride again and do the whole tree lighting, hot chocolate, all of that. So should be a fun night. So put it on your calendars.
What day was it?
Saturday, December 2nd.
Street, the permit? Oh, yeah, this the parade permit.
Oh, yes, we haven't asked for that. We need to. Thanks for the reminder. That's it.
Well, one other thing, since this is recorded for distribution, reminder to residents that we have a street renewal levy on the ballot November 7th. When you go to vote, it'll be on there for all Milton residents to approve or deny. Just keep in mind, it's a renewal, no new tax.
And it's the primary funding source for paving our streets.
Yes.
All right, any other new business?
This Thursday is the Rotary Halloween party, right, downtown?
Yes.
Yep.
4:30, 4 to 6, and then trick or treat, 6 to 8.
Yep.
All right. So if nothing new, I'll open the floor up to citizens.
I have one question, and I see the trash guy's not here. I work for Patterson's Flowers. We have a whole mess of fluorescent bulbs, 8-foot bulbs that we need to get rid of. How do we go about that? Somebody told us to wrap them in a tarp, bust them, and throw them in the dumpster. But I want to make sure what's
I wouldn't recommend that.
the right way to do.
If I could, Bob, let me confirm, let me do some checking, and when Ben gets back, we'll get with you and figure out how we can deal with those.
Okay.
All right?
I just told her I'd ask at the board.
No, thank
Okay.
you. We appreciate you asking instead of taking that at other advice.
Probably also contact the folks at Miami County Solid Waste, they can tell you what to do.
Yes, good idea.
Yeah, because I believe there's mercury
Yeah.
in those, and yeah, you don't want to be breathing that dust in, and I don't think you want it willy-nilly all over the place.
All right. Anyone else?
I'm Jessica Weichert. I am chief out at Union Township Life Squad, and I have a few board members of the Miami Southwest Joint Ambulance District here with me tonight. We came to continue a conversation that we started with the council. Most of you weren't on back in 2019. Our concern and the reason that we're here tonight is with the Stillwater Crossings development, we are not getting our levy income from that development. So that's concerning. We were told back when we came before, let's wait and see how this plays out. When it becomes a real thing, let's talk. So it's a real thing, we want to talk. Not sure how big the Randall residence is going to actually be. I've been in communication with Tip City, who also has a Randall residence. Not sure if the two are compatible in size, but they took 194 calls just to the Randall residence last year. We average about 1,200 a year, so that's a significant increase for us. I've spoken with the auditor's office, so it looks like we're going to be dealing with the TIF through 2056 is how long we won't be getting our levy portion or our millage from that. Since the TIF has taken effect, there's been a House bill that was passed. It's House Bill 69, and it was passed in March of 2018 that requires the reimbursement to a township that's providing fire and EMS. So obviously this project was started prior to that. That's not something that is you're being held to with the new laws, but we were told, that we would be taken care of essentially. So we'd like to start the conversation about what that could mean with the contract. Speaking with our attorney, there's examples of such things happening, even like UD with the city of Dayton, village, or they're not a village, but some type of a municipality going under contract with a smaller portion of the community that they're serving because they're disproportionately using the service. It makes sense, right? We serve all of Union Township. So we would like to pursue some type of a contract for either a lump sum type payment. We could do per call. We can bill insurance and then turn over the remainder to the village. There are options, but we want to get something figured out.
Well, when you say that you won't get anything until 2056, you just mean on the Randall resident property there, right?
No, sir.
No,
The whole
actual.
Stillwater Crossings development. Everything that was under the TIF.
That's
not accurate.
incorrect.
The houses are only tipped for 4 years.
Yeah.
According to the auditor's office, I spoke with Angie Hubbard, and she said there's a 4-year abatement and then the 30-year TIF. So for 34 years is how long we would not be getting what we were due.
I think the first step, we've talked to Randall's residents, and as soon as they appoint a local executive director, we were gonna set up a meeting with Jessica and have that conversation.
Which I think is a great first step, but that's, by the time we get residents in, we're playing catch up because we are already providing services for the homes that are there, which we have absorbed, but we can't continue just absorbing, if that makes sense. I don't want to be playing catch up and having to go back and ask the rest of the township to make up for one of the entities that we serve.
I do remember those conversations from then. I do remember discussions of trying to make the Township Life Squad whole, and varying ideas being bantered around. So I appreciate you coming forward and bringing that to the forefront of our minds, and giving us an opportunity to wrap our heads around that, and kind of rediscuss the options and what would best serve the members of our township. I mean, it is just not just West Milton, it's an entire township.
Dion, do you remember them saying, and I might be thinking wrongly here, that there's going to be a squad unit or an ambulance?
So there was discussions of them contracting it out, Randall House themselves contracting it out with for certain types of transportation. I know it can get really iffy for communities where they're, is it an emergency, or is this
Right.
Is this not an emergency?
Which we only can't handle emergencies, so.
So, and I just from personal experience with family members at places like Brookhaven, over in Brookville, and I remember how my mom was received by the squad coming there for a broken hip, and it just, you could tell it was a strained relationship. How many calls they were going there on a routine basis, so, and we definitely don't want any of the citizens of our township, our West Milton, any place to, have to receive care under, strained, stressed situations. So I know it's something you guys take serious, and it's something that I think we'll take serious too.
Is there a follow-up or a point person that I should speak with to continue?
Work with me.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't want to throw Jeff under the bus, but he was not here when all this stuff was here.
No,
But
I was
he's,
gonna say, that's all new to me, but I would guess perhaps forming some type of committee within the council to make that a priority.
Yeah.
That's something to consider.
absolutely.
I think it was a great thing that you came tonight, because it's something that, really wasn't on our radar, right now. So,
Well, thank you for
yes.
considering and having us here.
Thank you.
Oh, you guys provide an invaluable resource to our community and the entire township. And I remember some of the conversation even being, you've got a car accident out here, and meanwhile you've got, a less emergent thing out there. And there's going to be lots of things out there. And how do you balance those needs within a small community resource like that? So I do remember some pretty in-depth discussion of the situations that could arise from the it being out there and our limited resources. And
I think you're well aware of the volunteer situation of all our towns.
yes, absolutely. It's you guys aren't a big budget operation out there running full-time people. I think yeah. I mean, we see it here with our volunteer fire department, and Ludlow, same thing. All of us aren't just from here, live here. We got kin here and there too, and it's always the same few people doing a lot of the hard work, and that's not lost on us.
All right, anyone else? All right, seeing none, is there any motion for adjournment?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Any abstains? All right, ayes have it, so passed. Thank you guys for coming tonight.